Hi everyone! In today's episode of ClariChamber, I would like to continue talking about another movement of Max Bruch's 8 pieces for clarinet, viola and piano. Bruch was fond of folk music and used a variety of folk elements and songs in his music, such as Scottish symphony, adagio and Celtic melodies for cello and orchestra, and Swedish dances, just to mention a few. In the fifth movement of Bruch's 8 pieces, the composer chooses an authentic Romanian melody, a folk song, as a center theme, introduced by the viola and then the clarinet, and finally, at the end, both instruments playing with unison. Out of the 8 movements, this one sounds probably the closest to the human voice and speech, as if you could almost hear the different lines of the text as the growing and then descending phrases come after one another. 2 measures before the viola passes the main theme over to us at the beginning, it is holding an F and slurs it with its octave, while all that is happening is just the arpeggios in the piano sounding almost like a dulcimer. The F minor arpeggios turn into F major arpeggios, but just for a second before the melancholic Romanian song is repeated by the clarinet. It sort of releases tension, sadness and despair that dominates throughout the main theme. We can just let the pianists come through with their own musical ideas here. Very often, there is a slight ritardando right before the clarinet comes in. We just need to make sure that when the clarinet starts playing, our entrance is the end of the ritardando, so pay attention to carefully land together on the downbeat of measure 20. As I was learning this piece, I noticed that the triplets, 16th notes, and the bigger slurred intervals create the illusion of different syllables and words. So by playing these rhythms parlando and rubato, and by imitating the human speech, we can really showcase the singing quality and versatility of the clarinet. In addition, I also would like to mention that rhythms smaller than quarter notes tend to be the driving force of the melodic line with their forward motion, while longer rhythmic values need to be sung out with their full value tenuto. From measure 32, the music moves forward until the high C in measure 34 as the musical line is going upwards. To me, it seems that the most significant beats in these bars are 1 and 3. By thinking about moving ahead on the last beat of these measures, we can create a smooth and more natural accento. When we get to the A flat with the hairpin in measure 34, there is a turning point. The phrase stops for a second. It is hanging in the air before the music starts descending and slowly calming down. Five measures after the middle section begins, there is a gradual stringendo until the climax of this movement in measure 54. Besides creating this forward motion, Bruch also writes a sequence and the continuous crescendo in order to build up the tension and excitement leading up to the climax. It is going to help us establish an effortless stringendo if we think about measure 46, 47, and the 8th notes in measure 49 and 51 as the engine that drives the stringendo, while we take a moment and relax on the longer, slurred notes in measure 44, 45, 48, and 50. Arriving at the emotionally most demanding part of this movement, in measure 54, we should play with the love tenuto. We can stretch out the rhythmic values a little bit that will help us hold the tempo back from tempo 1. In measure 54, we see an accent on the D flat. There are only 3 of this kind of accent in the entire movement, and they all need to have some kind of weight in meaning. They sound very much as if someone was asking for relief from their struggle and pain. These are not forced accents, but instead they are more expressive, as if they were a sigh. In addition, just like in the second movement of this piece, we also have to pay attention to who we are sharing the line of the melody with here. In measure 54, the clarinet has the prominent role as it starts the climax. Then, in the next measure, the viola takes over the main theme, passes it back to the clarinet, and then the viola comes forward again. Let's help the viola and be aware of their line while playing this passage. In measure 55 and 57, let the viola sink through this dense and thick musical texture. During the last section, starting at measure 69, there is something very special and magical about the timbre of the clarinet and the viola when they play unison in the same octave. I think that if we had to pick a string instrument that is closest to the clarinet, it would be the viola. No wonder Bruch was fond of pairing these two instruments with each other, not only in his 8 pieces, but he also experimented with pairing the clarinet and the viola in his concerto. The key here is to unify our musical interpretation in order to be equal partners during this passage. If we make sure that we can hear the viola throughout this unison section, then we do not have to worry about being too loud and overpowering the viola. So this is it for today's episode of ClariChamber. I hope you enjoyed exploring this piece a little bit more, and that this video will encourage you to get a deeper understanding of Bruch's writing and compositional style. Keep practicing, see you next time.